Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Unfiltered Vet Discussions. We're so glad you're here. We're kind of giggling because the conversation today is don't be a dick. Stop microaggressions. See, we started off again, right?
There we go.
Here we go. Off to the races we go. Hopefully, you're seeing this on all our social media platforms. If not, please sign up, link, and share, and also our podcast platforms. So we were kind of starting to giggle about this because of just human interactions in the workplace. So I am going to boot it over to you ladies about kind of that conversation.
Yeah, because
And
you need to have multiple people in the office,
yes,
and I
Yeah,
only have myself, the two
yeah,
cats, and then two other people, and they have their
listen,
own space.
if you
So,
want to talk about
True.
microaggressions, I think cats are actually like
Oh
they
yeah.
are.
that
Cats
one,
definitely cats definitely have microaggression down to a
yeah,
T.
most definitely.
Yeah. They
They just
choose
look
evil
at you.
all the time, cats.
Yeah.
But people too, and that's where
Yeah.
the interactions come in,
Hmm.
and not being aware that
right.
you're being a dick.
Yeah.
Right,
Mhm.
right. Don't be
It's
don't
true.
be
And then people look at him like, why are you not seeing this? Like, hello, where's the synapses
I
connecting
mean,
that what you're doing is like read the room, people. Read the
I
room,
Yeah.
mean, yeah,
right?
maybe it's passive aggressive, maybe it's just being petty. I mean, you can call it what you want, but it definitely impacts your teams. I can hear that and the frustration when you were sharing it right before. So yeah, turn it over to you, Jenny.
Yeah, so I'm in general a pretty positive person. It takes like I'm not usually in a bad mood. And last Monday I was covering downstairs as an assistant and it was the Beth, when you said the word microaggression, I'm like, "Oh, that's it." So, we're going to call my team members, Jane, Sally, and Sarah. And I was working with Jane, who I'm very close with, and Sally. And Sarah was really stressed about looking at the schedule for tomorrow or the next day. And it was a surgery schedule. And we had one person out. So another person was going to go on the road. So we were short somebody in the clinic, and they were already stressed about, well, what do I do about surgeries? Da 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 da. And as we do, we look at the schedule, and we talked about the spiral downwards. It's going to be this horrible day. And so Sarah was freaking out. And so Jane was like, "Oh God, I wish Sarah would stop freaking out. She does this every time. Oh my gosh." And then Sally was like, "Oh my gosh, I know. Sarah always does this. And I don't know why they need to call. And then we'll call him, since I only have one him, Dr. Garrett, because that's his middle name, steps in and says, "Oh, well, it's not just Sarah, it's also Mary." Mary gets into it, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, Mary always gets into it too," and the two of them like feed off of each other, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, shut up."
Yeah,
And so then I got in a really bad mood, and now when I get in a bad mood, I get quiet, which I know seems like a rarity, and it is because I'm very rarely quiet. And so they're all like, "Jenny, what's wrong? What's wrong?" It's like nothing, and I'm thinking I'm just in a bad mood, like. And then finally, I'm like, "Do you want to know why I'm in a bad mood?" So I talked to my gentleman doctor, and I said, "Dude, don't jump in." And he
Yeah.
was like, "I didn't even realize I was doing it." And I'm like, "I know, but just by jumping in, you're just, it's like building it up." And
stirs it
then
up.
I talked to the other two, and I was like, and I know that they went to the technician who was stressed and said, "Hey, don't worry about it. We'll get it taken care of. It's fine." But then just go to them and say that. Don't talk about them and then have somebody else come in the conversation. And then it turns into this negativity. And it really ticked me off. And I hear it, we talked about this is humans in every place. My daughter, who's 12, God help anyone who's raising a 12-year-old daughter, her and her friends do this all the time. And I'm like, don't be a mean girl. And they're like, "Oh, Mom, I'm not being a mean girl. That's just how we talk to each other." I'm like, it's not kind. You're not lifting anybody up. Like, don't, just don't. Don't be a dick, as Beth says.
Don't be
So
a dick.
tomorrow I'm having a team meeting, and Beth said I really should just walk in and be like, "Don't be a dick," and mic drop, and the meeting's done. But I have other plans, but it's just, Oh, and they're not even, I guess my real frustration is they're not even aware that they're doing it. Like they're just
Yeah.
talking. And
Mhm.
they don't see it as gossiping because they're not talking just behind somebody's back. I would say this to this person's
No.
face, but just don't. Ugh.
Yeah. We deal with this at my practice a lot too. And one of the things that I think, have figured out is that when you have a practice that's generally high functioning, so you're practicing good quality medicine, you have a good team that wants to be there, you generally have a good culture, this issue becomes one of the big issues because there aren't a lot of other issues.
Right.
So because you're not putting out these giant fires all the time, these like little stupid interactions that undermine culture and undermine psychological safety become the thing that everyone talks about and everyone notices because there aren't other big, more pressing things that you have to be concerned by. So we find ourselves exhausted by talking about culture and negativity because I feel like A, it never goes away because it's human nature, and B, we don't have a lot of other things that we have to fix. So we're just constantly talking about it. But God damn it, I feel the same way, which is why I said that when you're like, I'm going to go into my meeting and say,
Don't be a dick.
don't be a dick.
Yeah.
It
Which,
is funny because I have had that conversation, that exact thing. I'm like, listen, we don't have any mountains that we're traversing right now. We
right.
don't have any big issues, all of our broken equipment has been fixed. We've kind of gotten rid of those toxic team members. We have a really our team is just gelling really good right now. And so they look for the molehills because we have no mountains. So
Right.
I said, we don't even have molehills. We have like grassy knolls, like
Yeah.
just
They're
a
like tiny
with
little ant
flowers on
hills,
it.
tiny little ant hills.
Right? They're not a big deal. And
Yeah.
so just shut up and go along with the goodness. But it must be just be human nature to just be like, have to find something negative.
Right.
I,
Yeah. Is that
I just,
trying to boost themselves? I mean,
I
I
don't
don't
know.
do that. I'm feeling better about myself because I can put someone else down.
Yeah.
That's what your cats are doing to you, David.
right.
That's
But that's also how we're trained everywhere. Speaking from a marketing perspective, I sit back and watch the messages, the narratives that are given to us everywhere. Social media, bus stops,
Yeah.
TVs, walking down the airport corridor, just all of that. You don't see a lot of positivity or how to, people get bonus points like the mean girl conversation. Like, I cannot stand Disney. Like, I put my kid in front of Disney for like 30 minutes the last time she ever watched anything for years because um, the programming, she turned around and became a mean girl. Not
Mhm.
going to the parks, because Jenny, I know you love going to parks. That was different. But like the
It's
TV,
okay. Everybody can have their opinion. It's all
right.
right.
But I watched her behavior change because she was learning that you got validation points for being a mean girl,
Mhm.
and you didn't get validation points for being a go in and prop everything
Right.
up person. Right. And I was like, what is this? And then the girl stopped watching TV entirely because her behavior changed so much that I was ending up dealing with. This was when she was really little. Now she can
Yeah.
watch whatever she wants. But it's like that got me on to the programming. I'm like, what is the marketing narrative that
Mhm.
they're telling us from little, like whenever a screen is in front of us or anything, the messages always tend to be negative. They don't tend to be positive.
Right.
So, how do we learn this skill set so we're not a dick? Because we're taught to be dicks. And it's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
Well,
And
and
I've also found too, we have team members that we've had some like really in-depth behavioral conversations with. And some of it too is some people, it's the only way they've ever learned to connect with anyone.
yes.
Like if they grew up in a home that was super negative, and like, let's be real, a lot of like our parents' generation, like that was a tough era. And like I know a lot of people in my age group, like their parents kind of had a very negative way that they were raised. So if you are growing up in a home that's full of a lot of negativity and not always like upholding the positives or the wins and focus more on the times you fall down. That's what you learn as a child. The way to connect with people is through negativity. So like I see that in my
Hmm.
team where I know it's like the awkward person that wants to fit in, and it's easier to be like, did you see what so and so did? And they only took in 2 appointments this afternoon, and I took in 5, and they're not trying. And it's because they're like trying to connect with that person and like fit in socially. And I find that it is just like easier to do it through negativity, whereas
Yeah.
doing it through a positive means, I think, is harder, which is why a lot of people really struggle with it.
It
Yeah.
takes work. It takes awareness. You have to realize that what you're saying is negative, right? Like that's step
Mhm.
one, because they're really like, well, I wasn't being negative. And that was the response I got. I wasn't being negative. And I'm
Right.
like, no, but you were. Like, listen to that. What about that was positive or kind or anything? Instead of saying, oh, hey, such and such is really nervous. How can I help them? It was, oh my gosh, they always get this way. So, like, there's different ways to go about it. So, number one, I think you have to be aware of it. And number two, I think no matter how exhausting it is for us holding meetings, we need to coach, we need to mentor, we need to be like, hey, instead of saying this, let's say this. And when we start to feel like preschool teachers, which is exactly what what I
Which I
start to
feel like
feel like
every day.
every day, it's just, it is, because I think you're right. My 12-year-old is also in 4-H, and they had a family that used to come, and it was, I think, 3 or 4 siblings. And my mom was a school teacher, an elementary school teacher forever, right? And so she was mortified by how these kids were talking to each other. And one day she sat them down and she said, I want you each to say something nice about one other of your siblings. And they couldn't do it. Like they could not come
That's
up with,
horrible.
oh,
That's
I really
awful.
like her hair, or oh, I really, nothing. They could come up with nothing. And my mom was mortified, but it was the house that they were raised in.
Hmm.
And
Mhm.
so, how do you teach these kids, like, no, it's okay to be nice to each other? It's easy for us to be really mean to our family because we know they're going to love us no matter what. And I also think, Beth, to what you were saying about the fact that we're a very cohesive team. Like, you sound like you have a really cohesive team. So they can kind of be a little mean to each other
Hmm.
because they know they're still going to be loved at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And so it's just a matter of how do we overcome that, and one, make people aware, and then two, say, okay, instead of saying this,
Right.
i.e., being a dick, say this. And
Yeah,
then,
it's the react versus respond, right?
Yes.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's hard to be aware of. We just don't have that filter
Yeah.
in the moment.
Agreed.
But
And
work
I
in progress.
and I also feel like it has to be practiced.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
this is the thing that I think people
Mhm.
don't always look at it like it's a skill. But like I have found being positive and finding joy and happiness in your everyday life should be something that everyone works on every single day. Because
Yeah.
otherwise you're never going to be
Yeah.
happy and you're always going to only focus on the negative. And so then it doesn't matter where you work, it doesn't matter what your relationship status is, it doesn't matter what you achieve because it will never feel like enough because you're not satisfied with where you are. Not to try to make this a hugely philosophical, diving very deep conversation, but I feel like that's where a lot of this comes from. Like if you can't practice gratitude and find ways to seek out the positive in your day-to-day life, like you will not be able to combat this behavior. That's just a symptom of that underlying problem of like not practicing to find the positives and retraining your brain away from always looking for the negative.
and
Yeah.
that's what it is, right? It's that
Mhm.
neuroplasticity, retraining your brain. So one of the things that I did was I bought my whole team. I got them all gratitude journals for like $4 on Amazon, and everybody got a gratitude journal. And then I had extras. And I mean, quite a few were like, what the hell am I going to do with this? I'm not going to journal. I'm like, it's 3 things. You write 3 good things down every day. One person has asked for it again and again. And the
Oh.
other thing that I have them do when they start with this little microaggressions is we do an exercise. It used to be 3 good things. Now my team is so large, it's 2 good things. So everybody has to write 2 good things about everybody else. Just
Mhm.
2 good things.
Wow.
And then I make certificates, and we have a team meeting, and I read them out loud, and they have to guess who the certificate is about. And it
Nice.
might be something like, oh my gosh, they make the best carrot cake ever. Or it might be, oh, I really appreciate the fact that they're always there to answer my questions without being mean and judgmental. You know what I mean? It can really vary, but it's good things about each one. And it kind of makes you think like, oh, okay, this person really isn't as big of a pain in the butt as I thought they were.
Yeah.
And I think I love that idea. We do shout
Yeah.
outs. So if we're in a team
Yes.
meeting at the end, we'll do shout outs that are positive. But going back to Beth, kind of what you were saying, and you have to do it every single day. I think one of the barriers is one of the unseen, unspoken narratives in our society is it's not worth doing unless it's this major, big, hard thing. Because just saying 3 positive things a day, the other side is it can't be that easy to do. You mean just saying that will help train my mind? It's not like I have to go run a marathon or, go to therapy for life to make these changes. You can't be serious. I just say 3 things a day and it will change my behavior. That sounds too like kindergarten type of behavior, right?
Yeah.
And it really is. So anybody listening to this, it really is seriously all you have to do is stop yourself and go, well, what are 3 things? Or, like I notice myself, my behavior, I start negatively thinking when I get super tired. So if I start negatively thinking, I go, wait, stop. How tired am I? And I just hit the stop button and then say, what's the opposite of what I'm thinking?
What is it? Phil always says halt. Am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? Am I tired?
Those
Like those 4 things when you start to do that, and he says, you need to, like, if I'm hungry, eat a Snickers or something healthier.
right.
Right? Like, but if I'm angry, what am I angry about? And am I really angry about that, or am I angry about something else? Right? Diving down that rabbit hole. Am I lonely? Do I really, like, sometimes sitting in my office all day, I get really lonely and I start getting cranky. And so I'll walk downstairs just to hang out with my team a little bit. And they're like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? And I'm like, not just going for a walk. Or right, am I tired? And maybe remove yourself from the situation if you can't be not a dick.
That's how Lena feels about that.
I was like, did you just have a dachshund jump off your lap? Yes, you
I did.
did.
She heard something outside and got alarmed. But
Listen,
yes,
cats and dachshunds have the microaggression down.
they
Yeah.
do. They
Perfect.
absolutely do. So the one other comment I was going to make too is I find so historically with my son, I have trained him in this way because you know how little kids are. Like we make him go for a walk and he'd just be, I hate this. My feet are tired. How high we have to go? Blah, 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 blah. And I'd be like, all right, stop it. Say 3 positive things right now. We're going to do a round robin as a family and we're all going to go until we can say 3 positive things. And so he'd be like trudging along on a hike and he'd be like, the sky is so blue. Those trees are so beautiful. And we would like make him do it until he stopped being a dick. And so I have taken that to my team that if they're like, today's really busy, the schedule's really crazy, la la la. Like I do it a little gentler, but I'll be like, today seems hard. I get that. And not every day is easy, but like, let's see, can we think of one thing that went really well or one client interaction that was really positive instead of that
Yeah.
client that was just really difficult? And then they usually like get going. They'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that lady with the puppy that we saw this morning and it was like giving everyone kisses. I'm like, yes, that was so cute. And they're like, oh, and that other dog that, the blood work found diabetes and the woman was so grateful that we showed her how to give the injection or whatever. I'm like, yes, like let's look at those things.
Yeah.
So
Or
it was
hardwired
always,
for negative. You have to
yeah,
be aware to overcome it.
yeah.
So we're
And
going to wrap up today.
With don't be a dick.
yeah, it's never too late. In the words of Ant-Man, it's never too late to stop being a dick.
Yeah.
Boom. With that being said,
That
we
needs to go
look
on a
forward
pillow.
to having you on future Unfiltered Vet discussions. Please share your comments. We'd love to hear from you. Until later.
Don't be a dick.